why they're requiring the passwords now, I think. And I don't even know if they can hack with that stuff. You know, I don't know. Scary.
Bill sent me today new information with Zoom now. Once you're, well, especially when you're working one-on-one with a client, but once that client is in, you can lock the Zoom account so no other people could come in.
Wow.
Because of things like that. Because obviously there are people who have nothing better to do with their time than.
I just did a Zoom update. When I went to log in this morning, it asked me to do an update of Zoom. So I wonder if that's new security measures and things.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Good call.
I just got right in. Oh, I don't know.
Karen, I was just telling Melissa that Robin was in a meeting today, a town hall meeting with DHHS, and someone hacked a Zoom meeting with child pornography.
Yeah, people have nothing better to do.
I know. Just awful.
Those big meetings where that's kind of open to the public are really hard to keep secure.
I'm sure.
No, and what it's also that's also like freaking people out, like in our situation,
right? Where
they can be a lot more secure, and the people, like if I'm hosting this meeting, I can look and I can see everyone who's here. I can mute all of you right now, right? So now all of you are muted. I can kick you out. I cannot let you back in.
Think how many times in meetings you would have loved to have that power, right?
Oh, yeah.
No idea.
Mute.
You're done.
Right.
You muted. You're fine. You're fine. You.
No mute for you. No mute for you.
The Seinfeld bit all of a sudden.
Yeah, the suit.
No Zoom for you. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of districts are banning it and going back to Google Meet, which isn't any better.
No.
Right.
So I went to an interesting training this morning about grounding when you're using telemedicine or telehealth or things like Zoom meetings to keep people engaged. And she was talking about doing things from a multi-sensory perspective. Everything from even asking the person on the other end to eat a fireball or to get up and stretch. She said, because you can tell when people aren't paying attention when they're kind of like, dude.
Yeah.
I've seen some people try to do a thing where they, before the meeting, they'll record themselves just kind of looking like, and then put that as their virtual background.
Uh-huh.
And they'll just go away. But it looks like they're right there.
That's funny.
No.
I've only done that a couple of times when I just haven't wanted to get ready.
Right.
You know?
I'll tell you, it's hard. Like today, I had a webinar at 11 o'clock to try to get us, our school connected so teachers can get free resources from Teachers Pay Teachers.
Yeah.
Hopefully that'll be coming in the next week. I have this now. I have an admin team meeting from 1 to 3. I have another meeting at 3 o'clock. There's another one scheduled at 4 that I'm probably not going to go to, but I could, and I have another one at 5. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to zone out.
It really is exhausting. Like I've been joining a lot of class homeroom from K through 4 homeroom teachers that are doing them, and it is exhausting, especially with younger doing Zoom with younger children. It's like herding cats, honestly. They're all talking at once. They're leaving, and as they're leaving, they're still talking. So they're coming up on the screen and they're talking over other people, and it's just like, whoa, like Jess said, it's just like it is in the classroom. But it's exhausting.
Did any of you have to do a password to get into this?
Yep.
I did.
You did?
I used one from Tuesday. It worked.
Yep. I didn't have to use one.
Grab all.
Right.
Because I didn't. I don't understand. Sometimes they're requiring a password and sometimes they're not, and I don't
I know.
understand it.
Yeah, I emailed you because I couldn't get in the first time. And then when I went in the second time, it didn't even ask me for the password. So twice in just a matter of 2 minutes, it did that it didn't.
All right, I'm sending out an email to everyone right now.
Matt, while you do that, have you had any response from any teachers yet about their Zoom meetings? I know we talked about that at the meeting on Tuesday, but I didn't see an email from you.
Yeah, hang on one second.
Okay. All right.
651-487.
Matt,
Mhm.
a few people are having a hard time getting on.
I'm working on it right now.
The password was below the original email.
No, it wasn't. Not on mine, it wasn't.
Oh.
Holly and I were looking everywhere. We couldn't find it.
Yeah, it wasn't on there. Because they've changed things, so I have to update my
Oh.
the calendar invites in particular. If people are going by that, so it's. Sorry, I didn't realize this was happening. I started up the room and then went down to make my kids lunch and get myself something to eat, and came back and some of y'all were here, so I was like, oh, okay, so we're going in, and then I checked my email and like Jen, you're like, what's the password?
Well, Tuesday we didn't need a password, so.
I didn't think we did.
All right.
So
Matt, with regards to those meetings, what would also be helpful for me personally is that in addition to knowing the date and time of the meetings, but also what the Zoom link is, because if it's all in one place, I can just go and type in that number.
right. So one of the things that I've started to build, and I'll show you. Give me 1 second so I can share my screen. Based on information that I've gotten so far, is I'm building this kind of a platform, a template. And so what you'll see everyone, and if there is a Zoom link that I can have access to, I'll just link it right to that little bullet, the little box.
Yeah, so like on Monday, those 3 CPT times for grades 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah.
If we could put the Zoom address right in there, that'd be lovely.
What I don't know is if Holly's doing a recurring meeting or if it's a new meeting every time.
It is a recurring one.
Okay. Then I can absolutely add the Zoom link into them. But I'm thinking something like this, and if this doesn't work, then I'll just put it into a Google Sheet. It's already in a Google Sheet where I'm getting it all from. I'm just trying to organize it in a way that kind of makes some sense so people can see where meetings are happening and what times are like.
Yep.
I'm going to share this out, Sharon. You don't have to take a picture.
That's all right.
I'm just
Hey,
working.
We don't have to worry about like 7th graders getting into kindergarten Zooms, because everybody who gets this, every family who gets this will see it, right? Oh,
No, I'm sharing this with staff.
Teachers, duh. Okay. Hello.
This is just so staff knows like what's going on at these
my
times.
brain is in a different place today.
So if they wanted to
It'll be
find
fine.
different times, different open available times, and not conflict with others.
Yeah, I know 5th grade does, because I just talked to them. I think they do a 1 o'clock on Friday, but don't quote me yet because I could be wrong.
Yeah, I haven't finished filling this in yet from the information that I have.
Yeah.
I just started doing this morning. So, but that's what I'm working on.
That obviously too would be that if things change, that teachers notify who they think would be at that meeting.
Sure. I hope that kind of a framework or format will help people understand what's happening, where the meetings are, and yeah. And if teachers don't want to say, nope, I'm going to keep the Zoom link to the people, I don't necessarily want any of the staff just jumping in, that's totally fine.
Right.
You know, they just have to keep people in the email loop then. But I'm going to preempt to answer some possible question based on the notification that went out from the commissioner the other day. My response is I don't know.
Yeah, I had a lot of those today too, and I did the same thing. I don't know that the administrative team hasn't met yet. Jerry just sent out an email with some vague clarifications that we'll know when he knows.
I'll tell you, down this area, the whole town of Brunswick yesterday went up into just panic because an email went out and it was completely misinterpreted, and the media was misinterpreting it, saying things like all schools are now closed, which is not the case. But people were just in panic.
Right.
And I had to, I was trying to tell a fellow teacher of mine who was getting really upset about it, like, the school board hasn't decided anything yet, have they?
Right.
Is that either the school board or the governor? That's the only way any decisions like that can be made. The commissioner doesn't have that authority.
Yeah. Jerry intimated in his email that school most likely won't go till June 11th, 15th, whatever, but that decision hasn't been made yet either.
Mm-hmm.
And I figure by then, by after Memorial Day, most parents will say, screw it anyways, and they won't, I know it's hard on them, so.
I see that as a natural end point, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm telling my high schoolers here at the house that doesn't count for them because I'm worried they're going to give up. So I've been saying, yeah, we might not be going back into the school building, but your learning is going to continue until we are told by the superintendent to stop. So they're downstairs at the dining room table right now working away. So everyone.
No, but there's still going to be the expectations are still going to be there in some sense or another. It might be they're going to look a little different, but the learning in some ways still has to happen, whether it's new learning or revision learning. That's still got to continue. But we might just say that the last day of school, quote unquote, would be around then.
Right.
Another really awful part is that SATs aren't even going to be required. So a lot of kids have been taking, like my son has been taking 2 SAT prep classes this year with zero value now. I mean, he's going to get high school credits for it, but he's not going to need it.
As a person who taught SAT prep for 3.5 years, I can say with 100% honesty, it is the most useless class ever.
Oh, I won't tell him you said that.
And as a person who did terrible on SATs when I was back in high school, I wish this had happened back then.
Right? Me too. I took them 3 times. It still didn't break 1,000.
Well, that's, I went to Bates and they don't look at SATs. And that's one of the reasons, because they don't believe in that standardized testing stuff.
Yep. Yeah, some schools have just flat out said from now, even after this,
right?
Even after all this stuff, we're not going to look at them again.
Yeah.
Because they don't tell you anything really valuable.
They don't predict future success. I don't believe so.
The best thing they predict is how you're going to do your first year in college. That's it.
Right.
What's that?
Or how well you test.
Right.
Let alone the connections to how it does in terms of equity, in terms of poverty and socioeconomic status and race and all the other stuff that is also very much biased against.
Good afternoon, Jen. I see that we're going to do puberty in 6th grade next year.
This might sound odd. I'm actually kind of disappointed about that.
You'll still do it with next year's 5th grade class.
Oh, I know. But this grade, I had them last year. And so I was like, ooh, you're going to see the movie. And now I don't get to
traumatize them.
Right? I know. Where's the fun in that?
I think the 6th grade team will let you come watch with them.
They can send that class back to us for that one day. We'll trade with them.
I'm glad I teach 7th grade.
Jen Thomas, how have your Facebook Live lessons been going?
They've been going really well. It's kind of a dual purpose. I've got quite a few from my own community here, as well as I've got about 6 staple kids that do it every day. And then it was really funny, while I was doing one today, I had our insurance agent, who has a middle school daughter, FaceTime chat me with like, SOS, help, I need help. So like, I was doing my Facebook Live, I was trying to FaceTime her to get, it was just,
Oh, geez.
yeah, I have a deal with one of my tough children that as long as he does my Facebook Live every day, he doesn't have to do any of the other work. So he's worked for me anyway. So he's been very consistent, very reluctantly consistent, but that has helped mom with some of the stress. So even though it might only be 12 or so kids at a time, they really like it. So.
Yeah. I've considered trying it. We've been Zooming with the 5th graders. I don't know. We are not getting, like you said, there's like a core group of kids that we hear from all the time. And then this vast majority that we're not getting anything from them. So I'm just trying to figure out other ways to reach them.
And that's why I was hoping, and I keep asking for it, and it hasn't come up yet. I need to know why we are not having staff meetings, so we all can get together and collaborate. It's really hard being not only secluded, but not having the interactions of not in a meeting, like 6, 7, 8, you need to go to a staff meeting. I've asked for a couple times, and it's kind of been, we really don't need one. Well, we do need one.
So Jen, that is in Jerry's emails. We're shooting for next Friday.
Yeah, well, that's too late. When I'm making an hour and a half phone calls every night to kids that have not been engaged for 2 weeks, I need somebody to tell me, is that enough? Do I keep calling? Do I keep hounding parents? Do I keep checking on these kids that I can't reach? When is enough enough? We don't have enough guidance right now as to when do we just let something go when we keep reaching out to these parents and these students and we're not getting anything back.
My next step is to send postcards, like snail mail postcards, because I've got we've got 65-ish kids, and I'd say I've got 12 to 15 that I haven't heard anything from. And so I'm thinking, at least for those kids, just to send a postcard and say, hey, how are things going? Write back or email me or something.
And when I do get a hold of the families, I'm not trying to be rude, but it's one excuse after the other. I try to talk to the kids directly if they're there, because it seems to work better when I can talk to them. And when I can talk to them, I do start getting some work. But we really don't have any direction as to what to do with these kids we aren't reaching. What are we going to do with them?
Well, I think one of the struggles is, Jen, I don't think there is any direction right now because the target keeps changing. And I don't even think administrators, we don't fully know what's going to happen next and how we're going to hold these children and parents accountable, because everyone's in crisis right now. So with me, when I've been reaching out to families, I'm just happy if they have enough food and supplies that they need to get them through this. And if they can, honestly, like, I know it's a little bit different maybe with younger students, but if they can read one book to their kids a day and talk to them about what they've read, if they can draw a picture and talk about it, I mean, that we have to totally change, obviously, the way we're looking at grading and holding students accountable, because most of these students don't have parents at home with them to help, like I do in my family. That's not happening in a lot of other families, and I recognize that. Their parents are at work, or their parents aren't engaging them in schoolwork, and it's not the kid's fault, right? So we just have to do things differently, and I don't think administrators have a lot more answers than we have as staff members. I don't think there are a lot of answers there. So,
And Jen, at 3-4, we've been encouraged to cut our work in half. So like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just do literacy, and Tuesday, Thursday, do math. And then the following Monday, Wednesday, Friday, do math, Tuesday, do literacy, because our parents are really struggling to get their kids to do every single thing. And Jess has asked us to do that, so the parents at least do something and don't give up completely. So that's where we're headed. And I don't know, Jennifer, I think it's the same for you guys. Am I right? Jan?
Yeah, we were given that directive on Monday to basically cut workload in half.
Right.
What we've seen, at least at the second grade level, is that parents are really struggling, like with the writing piece, getting their kids to write. So in second grade, I've been posting daily writing prompts, and I've cut that back to Mondays and Wednesdays. And then Fridays is just like a fun, take this virtual field trip to this zoo and think about these things, answer these questions if you want. And if you don't, that's okay. I kind of wonder though, like as we progress, since we've cut stuff in half, and I might have missed this, Matt, and maybe it's something that we don't have an answer to yet, but what does it look like we're going to be doing for grading? Are we grading? Like in second grade, the math standards for third trimester are standards that we're not teaching in math right now, because everything is sort of review based to keep it easy for parents. So how, and like I said, maybe that's something that you don't know yet.
Well,
Have there been any?
There's been a lot of conversation about this. And it's been trying to figure out what's the best way to do it. And one of the things that we keep coming back to, not just we as an admin team in this district, but all over state and country really, is that it's hard enough to grade a class on a 7 to 9 point scale when they're all with you together and there are certain variables that you can control.
Mm-hmm.
Now those normally controllable variables that we can use to grade in the classroom are completely gone. So there's a lot of recommendations out from a lot of different folks. In fact, I was in a call with the department or with the curriculum leaders yesterday and heard from Deputy Commissioner Dan Chuda, and his words were where they're focusing on is quoted directly, be student first, compliance second. That's the goal. So then any kind of grading and reporting, in my opinion, and what I'm pushing for should be focused on that. Student first, compliant second. And when you're doing a student first grading, it's less about the number or the letter and more about the feedback, more about the where are you in the process, how have you gotten there, and where do you need to go next. It's more, you'll see a lot of language like pass fail being out there, which is language that I hate. But for other like more positive or growth mindset language, it would be like a meeting or applying and then not yet. You're there or you're not there yet, and here's what you need to do to get there. To not hold kids accountable, but not punish kids in a way because their home lives are so very different from household to household to household, and we can't control those other variables. So that's, where we're leaning. I know at especially K-8 level, there's been a lot of focus on being just feedback heavy, and the grading should be. It is hard for us to say this, but the grading should be very, very like last thing to think about.
And I think aren't a lot of districts, Matt, maybe I'm wrong, but a lot of districts that are on, if they're on trimesters, they would be looking heavily at the first 2 trimesters, basically to see, was a student engaged? Were they making progress? Were they meeting standards? That kind of thing. Looking more heavily at those first, or if you're going by quarter, looking at the first 2-3 quarters, but, and kind of basing the final decision at the end of the year based on their prior to this shutdown.
Yeah.
Maybe trying, yeah.
It's being called like a hold harmless clause or a do not harm clause, which is that if they've done up to this point, from now on, any kind of scores, reporting, grading cannot hurt what they've already done. They can grow, they can get better, but grades can't be reduced
right
after this. And that's a general mindset for especially the areas like the high school area where there's been a lot of conversation about that, and we're hopefully going to be getting out to you all within hopefully the next couple of days, if not by the middle of next week, some kind of documentation that will give guidance about grading. I've been doing a lot of reading, a lot of talking with folks online about this, both in Maine, but also across the country and other ways, and seeing a lot of emerging recommendations from a lot of different places. In fact, the state of North Carolina, they've created, they're not a local control state like we are, they've created a blanket statement for all grading that says if you are going to give a grade, it has to meet these incredibly rigorous expectations. And one of them is like every kid has equal access to all the materials and equal access. So where does that happen?
right
That happens only in possibly the wealthiest of the wealthy districts, and even then it's not a guarantee. So long answer, don't know yet, or short answer, don't know yet, but that's where I'm seeing things probably progressing to, if that helps.
Matt, I want to add just one more thing to that too, and that is that, I think that I probably can comfortably say for both Melissa and myself, our message has been we want to help families reduce as much stress as possible right now. And schoolwork is one of those stressors for families right now. Kids, adults, grandparents, whoever is with those children all day long. And so there is no magic answer that's going to make everyone happy with how we resolve this grading thing. But the mantra that we use a lot in our clinical world is don't work harder than your client. And I think that grading, that's going to have to be our mantra as well. That right now, what we would love to see from our kids, we are not going to get. And it's not because they don't want to or they don't care, but there is too much else going on in our world right now that we just have to ensure that people are safe and that we stay connected in a way just to maintain those relationships. We'll rebound from this next year. But then that's a hard pill to swallow sometimes.
So I had 2 things there, and Matt, I don't know if you have an answer for one of them. I have a feeling there isn't one. But going back to the splitting the work in half or doing expecting half of the work, one of the things that the 5th grade team did was looking at our students that we have this year. We said, you know what? Math and language are the 2 biggest pieces of what they need. It's not that science and social studies aren't important, but the reading, the writing, and the math are the things that they're going to be pushing them forward later on. So we've just said, what you can get to for science and social studies, that's great, but we're trying to overlap as much as we can. And also, we're asking parents to focus more on things like having the kids help them with cooking and teaching them to do laundry and, that kind of a thing. That kind of covers a little bit of it. And then the thing that I think you probably don't have an answer on is you said to have feedback heavy for the kids right now. there's a lot of kids that I haven't got. They keep asking where they're going to turn in their work. How are they going to? So how do I get feedback to those kids? I've got some that are sending me pictures of their work, and I've got a few that are doing Google Classroom fairly consistently. But how do we do feedback if we don't have the?
It's a great question. How can you give feedback if you don't have stuff to give feedback on?
Right.
And I think the answer is obvious, is that you can't. And one of the things that we have to figure out how to safely do is to get any of the paper written materials back to the school and into your hands safely. And I don't know if that's been figured out yet.
Jerry's email says they're still working on it.
Yeah.
So I don't have a good answer for you.
Yeah, I kind of figured that there wasn't a good one. I just didn't know where that conversation had gone.
If it's paper based and that's the way that we're doing the collection, then I think the unfortunate reality is going to be there's going to be a delay in any kind of learning or feedback, and unless we can broach a way to do more synchronous / asynchronous stuff with them to at least get that some kind of information. If we can't do that, which is entirely possible, then there's just going to have to be a delay.
Right.
I'm sure some other people have thought of much more brilliant ways of answering this question and have an answer. I just don't have it, and I don't know.
Well, I really don't think that there is a good one yet.
I just wanted to jump in to acknowledge something that I'm hearing in this meeting, and I've heard it in other Zoom meetings with other, groups of teachers and staff and such. I just want to acknowledge the anxiety that I'm hearing. And I think that the message that we're all being asked to give, which is, in some cases, I don't know. And in some cases, well, just tell them to do what they can, tell them to take it easy. We want to acknowledge the stressors they're having. I think I've seen and heard a lot of praise, and I apologize, this is not meant to come across as
it's okay, Kathy.
But
you're going.
I've heard a lot of praise, like, oh, our school rocks, our staff are great, and that kind of thing. But I'm starting to get this feeling, if it's possible to do over a computer, that teachers teach, and they have a system, and they grade, and they have whether it's that they go home and they do it all at their kitchen table, or they stay another hour after school and they get it done there, and they see their teammates and they say, hey, so-and-so did work for me today, and hey, he didn't do it for me, what was your trick? I mean, all those things are what teachers do. And I'm feeling like, and I could be off, that perhaps the teachers need a little bit more direct answer, even if it is just, guys, you're doing a good job. And it is, I'm acknowledging that you're not able to do your job in the way you've always been able to do it. And that you're being asked, like, I heard Jen ask earlier, the work that she's been doing the last 2 nights, calling these families, it's amazing.
Yeah. And
she's like, is that enough? Am I doing enough? Well, that's because Jen is a hard worker. And I mean, all of you are, I'm just using her as an example, but you know what I mean? So I'm feeling like, even though we're not done yet, we haven't figured everything out yet, I think there needs to be some acknowledgement of that anxiety and what the lack of answers is doing to the teachers who care so much about their jobs.
I think you're spot on.
Yeah.
I was talking with my therapist yesterday about this very thing. One of the things that's killing me, one of the reasons why I was on Sunday hunkered down, I couldn't get out of bed, and I just pulled my comforter over me, and I was crying because of all of the uncertainty. And I don't know what's going to happen. And not having an answer, not having the right thing to do is driving all of us mad.
Yep.
And that, for at least me, is one of the most exhausting things of this entire endeavor, is dealing the day-to-day, trying to figure out, well, what's going to happen next? When is it going to happen next? What do I do next? Feeling that constant tension, I've said this before, of doing way too much and not enough at the exact same time.
Right.
And I don't know when. I don't know when it's going to end. I'm honestly kind of hopeful that if we had this decision, like, you know what, school is done for the rest of the year, there's no more of this just hanging on onto a thread or a hope that it could be, then we could say, here's what we do. Here's the structure. I'm hoping. But you're right in that the acknowledgement of the stress and the acknowledgement of the anxiety of all this is real. It's painful. It's one of the things that I know that Superintendent Jordan has said very clearly, that he wants April vacation to be April vacation 100%. Do not do work, and that includes all y'all. Step away because we need to. And that's going to be really hard. But I don't know. I don't, we're all trying to figure it out. And that's, I don't know.
Yeah, I think what you said, Matt, about having a date, this is it, is going to be really big, because I don't know about everybody else. I was apparently holding out hope that we'd be actually going back after April. I didn't think that I was, but apparently I was, because when the DOE sent that out, it was like, put me right into a tailspin.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't expect that at all.
Yeah.
So that having a date, that finality of having a date, that certainty, I think is going to be big.
It's like having a snow day, knowing that it interferes with the plans you made to start your summer vacation because your plane leaves on the last day of school now, something like that. Ed goes, you knew it was going to happen. I'm like, yeah, but yeah, it was hard. Nothing to be excited about. I think the other thing, Matt, is for the teachers that I work with, is they understand that April vacation is April vacation, but they also feel like they need to be ready to go on Monday because school starts back up. So if we don't have definitive answers, how do we get ready to start back again on Monday? I think the thing that's going to save them is having the work, because they've decided Monday, Wednesday, Friday to do one subject. They'll be able to squeeze that out a little bit longer, and maybe that will work for them. Do you know when the school board is meeting?
No, I haven't. I've heard nothing. I have an admin team starting in 17 minutes.
Okay. See, I was wondering if that's why we're waiting till next Friday for direction, because we really won't get it till we get the school board.
Yeah, I don't know when any kind of announcement's going to be made. I don't know if they're going to call an emergency thing. That happened in Bangor.
I would hope so.
They pulled an emergency to pull the board together and made an emergency decision, which is why they're closed. Same with a bunch of other districts.
Right.
The Bethel School District, I know, is closed.
Well, I would hope at your admin team meeting, maybe that's something that you can bring up. Do they know when that's going to happen? Because if they wait till May, the first Wednesday in May, that's kind of far away.
I'm very confident that that's going to be probably, I haven't seen an agenda yet, but I'm very confident that will be one of the main agenda points, is that this is a decision that has to be made, and what's happening with that. And
because I know I'm going to be receiving a lot of emails about that.
Yeah.
For some reason, the teachers that I work with think I have all the answers, and I don't. I've had to say I don't know a lot. I do.
I've always had the answers.
They are. They're working hard. They work hard, and their thing is they're not here, just like you. They're not hearing from the parents and the students, and are we doing enough, and are we working hard enough, and we putting out enough work? So they're feeling the same thing.
Sharon,
and it's hard.
Sharon.
Yep.
Fourth grade teachers are doing a great job.
Well, I know they are.
At least from this house, the amount of work that they've given is just enough. The schedule that they have has been great.
Right. We've also talked about.
I wish that every grade had done it that way.
Third grade's doing it.
I struggle.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we have a Facebook page. But like first grade, I like this morning from 8:30 last night to 8:30 this morning, I woke up to 6 different seesaw messages. My first grader has 4 Zooms scheduled every week. And I'm like, oh my God, we're lucky if we get to 1, maybe 2 Zooms. And it's not the teacher's fault. It's just between my Zooms and Josh's Zooms and everything. So that the schedule that they put forth was like super great. Right. So maybe I need to get on their page and just do a shout out, like, so that they have some feedback.
They'd appreciate it. Third grade is similar to first grade. And what we're going to do is come up with a doc where, because they're trying to do it by environment to be best for kids. So we're going to just send one document where it says Mrs. Lynch math, Mrs. LaGroff's math. So parents will only have to look at one document, find their child's teacher, and just do that assignment. It won't be as easy as fourth grade, but that's the solution we came up with for third grade. So that way they'll only post once as well. Because it is hard to read all of those.
Yep. I wish that we had some guidelines. Like I'm wondering how frequently people are like noting that they've talked to a parent. Like Jen, it sounds like you've done like above and beyond. You've done more than what second grade teachers have done at this point, as far as contacting. And I want to thank Melissa while we're on here, because she's contacted some parents that we weren't able to reach, and that was super helpful. So thank you. But I'm just curious, like, if I'm reaching out twice a week to parents, those parents that maybe their child posts something on our page like 1 or 2 times a week, is that enough? Should I be trying to contact them more frequently? Like I was trying to contact 3 times a week, and then I had some parents say, well, this is overwhelming. You know, we're here, we're doing the work, we're good. So like, what am I responsible for as far as when it comes down to the end of this? Have I contacted enough, too much, not enough?
Right. I think
so
the way that I'm
something that I would like.
Jennifer, the way that I'm looking at it is my mindset is I can do as much as I can do, and I can't do any more than that. And so I'm trying to make sure that parents have my email address, that they've got access to our Facebook page, that, you know, if I haven't heard from them, I try to call them or email. I've got Class Dojo going, you know, and as much as I can, I try to reach out to them so that they at least know, so that I know that they know how to get in touch with me. And maybe once a week, I'll try to reach out to them. And if I don't, you know, usually what I get is, yeah, we're fine, thanks. Okay. I can't really do any more than that.
Right. That's true.
Can I respond to a couple of quick points? And I'm sorry that I'm a bit distracted, but so the admin team, the small admin team met yesterday, and one of the things we did talk about was the board meeting, which isn't scheduled to meet until May 6th, which is way too long. So I know Jerry was going to talk with Kevin to see when we could move that to make some kind of decision. But I guess I just feel that, you know, I think Kathy's points were very valid, and I think that those comments, those conversations are happening everywhere. And, you know, and it's hard for me to not have answers for people either. And I think that this is very anxiety producing for us equally, and to stay connected with each other during this time, and not walk away feeling defeated or kind of going against each other. I think at the end of the day, we are all very committed to the same thing, which is to ensure that everyone comes out of this healthy. Right. And ambiguity is really, really tough.
Yes.
Preach.
Yeah.
It's snowing up here, Matt. Is it down there?
No. It's
Oh,
just rain. It's rain.
We've over here in Exeter, we've had, just since I joined this, we've had snow and absolutely pouring down rain. And I can't even tell what exactly, it's doing something, but I don't know what. It's
just
gross,
cruel.
whatever it is.
So it sounds like a hurricane at my house, but no rain or snow yet.
Yeah. It
I
started
can't
out-
wait. Our driveway is 4/10 of a mile long. We went out yesterday to get groceries and bottomed out in our 4-wheel drive truck. It's awesome. Yeah.
It'll be nice come
I need
summer.
some gravel.
Nice
It
come
will.
summer. Yep.
Well, everybody should go out tomorrow and build a snowman.
Yeah.
We'll put that on as one of our assignments. The parents will love it.
Actually, didn't
That's
we
awesome.
do that the last time? Something about build a snowman? Somebody did. Oh, maybe it was Jess.
When we had
Maybe.
Jess and
snow,
Greg.
last week.
could have been.
Yep.
The last time that we had snow, I put on the 5th grade Facebook page that it was a snow day. Everybody got the day off.
Yeah, I'm grateful
We'll try
for
that
the
again tomorrow.
announcements too. That's another way of connecting. I don't always get to see it live, but it's nice to see everybody's faces.
And Monday, you're going to see them covered in pie.
That's right. Uh-huh. My vote's for Greg, but you know, you got to keep
Yep.
your enemies close and your friends closer.
Yeah.
Greg's a good sport.
Yeah.
The poems have been really cute too that the kids have produced.
Yeah.
So.
I asked to send in a couple of limericks, and they weren't too impressed by that. Yeah.
Oh, they didn't like your limericks?
No.
Did they contain the word Nantucket?
Funny story. I was in the 7th grade or something like that, and I was really getting into things like theater and like poetry, creative writing kind of stuff. And so for Christmas, I opened this book, and it's this like 1,000-book page of limericks. And I Christmas morning, I opened this book up, and my face goes, and my mother's like, "What? Did you look at this book?" "No, I just wanted to thought it was poetry." And I said, "Here you go. Take a look." And she opens up like, "Oh my gosh." And I take it. "Thank you very much. This is going back to my room." It was, oh, limericks.
Yes.
Yes, there were several with the words Nantucket, to be honest with you.
Sure.
So Matt, I'm going to throw you right under the bus. Watch this.
Love it.
No, I just think if folks are needing some input or ideas or what are you doing, what am I doing, they can come to this meeting, right, and take over and do those things. Is that?
If it helps, I can open the room and I can just do this and walk away.
Well, no, I don't think you have to walk away. It sounds like people are doing really different things or different levels and are nervous about that. And also it's all of that stuff that we're dealing with, the grief that we're probably not going to be back with this group in the same way. Even if we did, it wouldn't be the same, you know? So I don't know, maybe just individually we could each shout out and encourage a couple of our peers to come. Pick one next Tuesday, right? Is your next one?
Next Tuesday, yeah.
Maybe, you know, folks can just say, hey, what are you doing? How much, how little, is it enough? What's work? I don't know.
Well, and if we do have a staff meeting on next Friday by Zoom, doing that next Tuesday would be a nice precursor to that staff meeting to kind of get all our thoughts in order and be more informed about what other people are doing and what expectations might be. I don't know.
The space is meant to be whatever you all want it to be.
Yeah, and you guys can be the bosses, teachers, and say, hey, this is what we're doing, this is enough or not enough, or this is what we need from you as administrators.
Yeah. Honestly, if people came together and said, can we use this space to play a big old game of Yahtzee? I'm game. I'm down. I'll grab some dice.
Twister.
That I won't.
Jen will make us add them up, though.
Oh, math.
I started doing some of Jen Thomas's listening, watching those videos, and that math, even at that level, is just way over my head. And I was like, oh, I think I'll be a hot shot and try to answer some of these. And then I would be doing the work over here, and these kids would be posting the answers, and she'd be like, good job. And I'm like, oh my God, that's not anything like I had. So, oh.
I was walking by Jen's room, and she called me in and said, "What, you want to come do the math problem?" And I was like, "No, no." I froze. I got all pale and like, "Oh God, this is terrifying."
But limericks you can do.
Limericks I can do. Well, that's language. I have a BA in BS, right? So, but anything to do with numbers, no, they don't want me to doing that.
No.
All right, folks. Well, enjoy the snow.
Okay.
Stay well.
Thank you, Matt.
And we'll see you next week. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Yeah.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye,
Bye.
everybody. It was nice talking to you all.